What's up, nerds and nerdettes? We little nerdlings all. Your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming is back again. And I'm back again for a very important reason. As you know, I call myself Big Johnny G. I don't just call myself that. It's a name I got back in 2000 when I worked at Barnes & Noble. But that's a story in and of itself. But the reason I bring it up is because not only am I physically a big guy, but I like to think to myself that I'm just a big person in general. And a big person admits when they are wrong. And I am here for a retraction. I was wrong. When a person finds out they're wrong, the only cool thing for them to do is to stand up, in this case, sit down and admit it. And all jokes aside, I was wrong yesterday when I did the drop about Tom Vassell and the friendly local game store debacle that's been going on online. And I wanted to address that. I'm not only sorry that I dropped and said what I did, but I'm also sorry because I allowed myself to fall into the zeitgeist of the mob mentality that was going on. And yes, it is very easy for us humans to fall into that, for us to just get swept up in the moment. But that doesn't make it all right. And I did allow myself to get swept up. I allowed myself to make a judgment based on what other people were saying, on secondhand accounts. And no one should ever do that. I'm a huge proponent of a quote from famed American science fiction author that says, Harlan Ellison, sorry, my mind is getting ahead of me here. Harlan Ellison said, "No, you are not entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to your informed opinion. Nobody is entitled to ignorance." And I've always believed he was right. And even though I believed he was right, I still fell into that problem. So I want to, first of all, just thank everyone that made a comment. And the reason I want to thank everyone, whether it was here on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, was, how to say this, not because you said something, but it was the way everyone approached what I had dropped. Nobody attacked me. Nobody came right out with fangs and claws and leapt on me like I was an evil usurper. People explained things to me. They told me things. And that, because it was addressed in such a cool, professional manner, caused me not to lash back, but it made me decide to look into this and become informed so I could see how my opinion really weighed. And I found out that it was a poor opinion. It was an informed, poor opinion. So I'm here to say I am sorry. I have since, in depth, gone over the original statement. I know that he himself has done a sort of redaction to explain exactly what he meant, and I haven't gone over that yet, but I have gone over exactly the initial statement that I was making a comment on second-handedly, which you should never do. And I was wrong. Yes, I was. But it did get me thinking, his actual statement, it did get me thinking of a few things based on that. And I mean, I didn't agree with everything he said, even when I read through the actual article. He used the word hogwash when he was talking about the fact that people argue that stores provide a community for the gamers. It seemed like he didn't really seem that that's the strongest point anymore because of the online community. And I don't totally agree with that because I think it's really conditional where you live. Something I had pointed out, when you live in a big city, in a small tenement building like me, and a lot of people do here in New York City, you don't have room yourself to really set up game, which is why gaming stores, like our local gaming store, The Complete Strategist, has an entire basement level that's just a gigantic big game room. So people will have that community space to come to and game at. So yeah, I'm sure that if you live in a large apartment or somewhere not in the city where car alarms go off all the time, where you have a much larger apartment or you have a house, things are different because you're able to set up your own area, your own game room. I mean, I have my own game room just really because of dumb luck, because I happen to have lucked into keeping a 2-bedroom apartment, and I only need the 1 bedroom. But not everyone is like that. and people need a place to go in some cases. So I think that's kind of conditional. I think that maybe that was more of a blanket statement than it needed to be. When you look at it, there are certain places that really do need these community game stores for places for all of us to go and come to. So again, I am only disagreeing with that because I think it's conditional of where you live, the amount of people you have, who's gaming. It does tend to be that way from my experience. But that did also make me think that maybe the future may lie in board game cafes. There are a few board game cafes that I know of that not only have the opportunity for you to sit down, take a game off the shelf and play it and experience it, but they actually sell the games. But a lot of the places, I guess, don't have the storage space since they're also a cafe and they need a lot of storage space for their own cafe goods. Perhaps that may be a reason why more cafes don't double as actual game stores. But if there's some way we could fuse the two together, instead of a board game cafe, sort of something like I didn't even write down what I was thinking of. Board game cafe, kind of like a board game store cafe, fusion of the two. That might be something that would even be stronger for the community. I wasn't being someone that lived through gaming from the 70s forward, 70s and the 80s forward. I also didn't, from my own personal experience, believe that the job of game stores promoting games is something of the past. I can see the basis of the point, but even back in the 70s and 80s, between all the gaming magazines, the two big ones for me at that time was Dragon Magazine and White Dwarf. Always had advertisements for these games, the new games coming out, because the publishers still wanted to push them. As well as the fact that if you had a publisher you liked, like TSR or Avalon Hill, you could get involved in their newsletter and be up to date on things. And that's what most of us did. But we still went to the game stores because for that personal touch. But not just the personal touch, but you go to these game stores and you get to know them and they get to know you. And because of that familiarity, there's a certain level of trust. They get to know you and what you like, and you know what they like. So when somebody that you actually know and you trust is telling you something about a game, that really tends to mean a lot more to our minds, to the way our brains work, than somebody we don't know personally telling us that a game is good. And that's the way I remember it, living through the 70s and 80s, being a gamer. There was a couple of other things. Let me see how they continue to bring people into the gaming community. I do agree that that's not the strongest point anymore. It used to be much, much stronger. And yes, the online community is doing a great job of helping bring people into it. But again, it comes down to that personal touch, because a lot of these friendly local game stores and brick and mortar stores that specialize in hobbies and games, at least the good ones, and the ones that have the space to do it, are hosting community events, gaming meetups. And again, you can do this online, but there's something personal about being there in the same space with the person and just experience them on a completely personal level, getting all their body language, seeing all their body language. It means a lot. And that's why person-to-person contact creates stronger bonds, I believe, in my opinion, than a relationship that's strictly non-physical through online. So that's why I think that's still an important part of the game stores and the communities. These great jobs, the tournaments that they put on, the gaming events they put on, it really does help strengthen the community to a degree, I think, on that personal level. Like I said, you're not going to get online. There was another point I think comes down to again a personal feeling more than anything else, but talking about the fact that online stores are the evil enemy of local stores. Okay, let's just drop the word evil, because I think that is really getting in a lot of people's craw, but if you look at it, as far as being an enemy of local stores, that actually is true, at least to a degree, because they're competitors. And anyone that is a competitor to your business is an enemy to your business, because they'll be possibly causing you to lose money, to lose business, and that's not good. So is the online stores an enemy? Forget the word evil. Are they an enemy of the physical, brick and mortar stores on the street? Yeah, they are, just because they're competitors. And competitors are always enemies of each other. So to say that they're not, I think is a very broad, maybe even naive statement. But just because someone is a competitor of you doesn't mean that outside of you and your competitor, you think your competitor is evil to your company. Evil. See how easy you fall into that? That you think that your competitor is your enemy. That's not really the way the average, consumer thinks. You don't think that Pepsi is an enemy of Coca-Cola. You just think of them as competitors. But to each other, yeah, they're pretty much enemies. In fact, some people may even argue, especially the more diehard comic book fans, may even argue that they're arch enemies of each other. But no, there is going to be this level of enemy between any competitors. And when you're dealing with one competitor who's online that doesn't have as much of any of an overhead, and they're able to give these huge discounts because of that, that is a problem to the stores. But the stores are doing everything they can. But just in general, don't support any store, whether it's a gaming store, whether it's your local deli. Don't bother giving any place your time and your money if they're incompetent, if it's not a friendly environment to go into. But if you do have a place, a deli, your favorite game store, where they're friendly, they're knowledgeable, they're personable, they like to share and engage with you. They love to help you when they're there, give you tips on some new games that are out, tell you about things that are coming up. That's the kind of place you want to support, in my opinion. You definitely want to support that. So those are a couple of my thoughts after going over the article as it was written. And yes, so I shouldn't have dropped that article yesterday before becoming informed. So again, thank you to everyone that instead of attacking me, decided to speak to me about that. That is the professional way of handling it, and I want to thank you all because you opened my eyes and you made me see that I was wrong. And that's why I'm here, to admit that and just let you know. So thank you, everyone. This is your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming. And my friends, I am out of here again. Oh, no, I'm not. Now I am.